Good job, Kevin. We're not going to let that slide.
Listen, I clicked go live and then I played the intro before we were live, so I had to stop it and then go again. Okay.
I'm not going to let that slide.
Nobody would have known if you didn't say anything. They would have just seen the regular intro. Oh my God. Everyone, what is up? Welcome to Project XTalk and Xbox Podcast, episode number 82. I'm your host, Kevin, aka the Muffin Mon, and today I'm joined by Mr. Physical Copy himself, Ethan. How are you doing, buddy?
You know, Kevin, I'm having a good day, and it's for 3 reasons, none of them having to do with video games. One, It's May the 4th. It is Star Wars Day. We got a new trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of my most hyped shows coming out this year. I'm so excited for it. It's coming out this month, first episode. So I'm stoked for that. 2, you can see I'm wearing the pinstripes right now. The Yankees are on an 11-game winning streak, and they're about to beat Toronto's butt tonight to make it 12 games. So it's going to be a good day. And the third reason, I can't remember right now, so it must not be that important. You know, I came in ready to say these 3 things, and the third one I just can't remember, so we're going to forget about it. 2 things make me excited today.
All right. Well, you know, it's always good to be excited. We also have a special guest. And returning for his second appearance, he is the founder of the newly rebranded Carpool Gaming. He's the co-host of the Xbox Drive and the Nintendo Drive, the host of We the Gamercast, hater of Jar Jar Binks, and my favorite Canadian, don't tell the other ones, Sean Capri. My friend, how are you doing?
That pretty much wraps it up, actually. That's like my entire bio. Like, you know, you could tell my parents and they go, yeah, that pretty much would cover it as well. There's nothing else I've ever done in my life except for those 3 podcasts and hate Jar Jar Binks. So thanks for doing a good job, man.
Yeah, so I was talking to our friend TPR.
Yes.
I know you're well aware of him.
Big fan.
And he was like, you gotta make sure you get Jar Jar somewhere in the show.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, bro, I already wrote it into his intro.
How is this a thing? Do you guys like actually like is everybody just like they're scheming against me right now? They're all like suddenly just like Jar Jar.
We scheme against each other too, so don't think you're special.
No, I'm glad. I hope not.
I do want to clarify. I hate Jar Jar Binks,
there you go.
I love the bit.
Y'all are so awful to Jar Jar. Just wait until he snaps and becomes a Sith Lord. All right, it's gonna happen one day.
That's the redemption arc, a weird backwards redemption arc that we're all waiting for. There's got to be a reason for this.
Well, remember, guys, if you like the podcast, we are live usually every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. If you can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time, although this week is going to be Thursday, on all your favorite podcast service. And while you're over there, we would love if you could drop us a review and a rating, whether that's Apple, Spotify, whatever. If you leave us a 5-star review, we will read it live on the show. If you want to interact with us more, come join our Discord. It's been popping lately. We got some new people coming in, having some fun chats about Star Wars, Marvel, everything. So come on over. Link is in the description. And if you want early access to our content besides the live podcast, head over to patreon.com/projectxtalk. For $1 a month, you get all of our content early, plus the Patreon shout out. So shout out to Bucky Blue, Hopple, and Alpaca Tom for supporting us. We appreciate you. Now, that's our housekeeping out of the way. And Sean, since this is your second appearance, I don't have the first guest appearance questions to ask you. I do have a question I need answered.
Okay.
Why do you not give the GameCube the respect it deserves?
Whoa.
I don't get it. Again, it's sort of like the Jar Jar thing. Maybe everybody's trolling me about this. I just didn't have one. I think that's probably first and foremost, but I think it relates, like, that wasn't by accident. I had a job at the time. I could have purchased it, but I just looked at it and when would that have come out? Like, I think I would have been, I don't know, somewhere between like 14 and 17 years old. And it wasn't the right thing for me, to be honest with you. And the funny thing is, we were just talking about something similar on the Nintendo Drive earlier. Like, what is Nintendo doing in terms of who is it targeting? And especially, I felt with the GameCube, it wasn't the cool console to have as a teenager, preteen kind of, like I who was concerned about that sort of thing. I wanted to have the cool thing, and this purple thing with the weird controller wasn't very cool. So it didn't latch in at the time, and I don't have any nostalgia for it now, and I don't really want to dump on too many negative points on it because you guys all like GameCube. So I think maybe I'll just stop there, Kev.
I will say GameCube is probably up there for my favorite console of all time. Like
Kyle says it's his favorite.
So
the
good.
best Nintendo console.
By far the best Nintendo
Okay,
console.
now you're choosing violence. You're choosing violence.
We're not going to get into this because it's the Nintendo 64, first of all. Second of all, I can't imagine going through life without having played Zelda the Wind Waker.
The disrespect on the Super Nintendo right now, you guys.
I was like -5 when the SNES came out, all right?
Well,
I wasn't alive.
This is the core of the answer. But objectively speaking, Super Nintendo is the best console.
You want to know what's wrong? You just called it the SNES, and I do not abide by that.
I don't think I did. I said Super Nintendo.
No,
I said
Ethan
I'm like, hang on a second.
No,
it's
you're
good.
You're good.
It's
No, it's an SNES.
Bless you.
It is not a NES. You don't call it a NES, right? You call it the NES. So
it's a dead console no one cares about anymore, Kevin. So it's okay.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out
Time
to
to move
Snack
on.
Network showing up over on Twitch. It says it's the Xbox Drive, which there wasn't a BAW today. I tuned into the Xbox Drive. You weren't there. Nobody did a BAW.
Hey man, you guys should feel special. I'm doing this show and not my own today.
We do.
So there you go.
We do. Well, now that we got that out of the way, I want to start with what we do every week here, and let's go around the room and ask one simple question. That question is, what you playing? So, as the guest, Sean, I want to know, what have you been playing?
Dude, I'm really excited to tell you guys that I've been playing Life is Strange, which normally I don't think would be totally extraordinary, but I've been playing it primarily on xCloud. On my travels here, and even at home, for whatever reason, I find myself away from the TV and just going like, let's try this thing out. And a game like Life is Strange on xCloud is perfect. Like, you don't need if there is a delay, you don't really notice it, and if it's there, you don't really care either, even if you did notice it. But that's really been the center of my playing, because we're all gonna get together on Saturday and talk about it like a old lady book club. We call it the Backtrackers. You jump into our Discord and we choose one game at a time. And there's a group of, I don't know, between 5 and 12 of us who play it together, and we jump on a call together, and we're gonna chat about it. And this game, let's see, I think I should be playing it more in private than I have been. I played it a little bit in the airport, waiting for my flight over to where I am now, and I hit an emotional part of the game, and I'm just sitting there waiting to get on the flight, and I'm like, why did I do this to myself? Like, trying to fight back the tears and go through the motions and everything. And it's a special game because I'm realizing that it's doing what it's trying to do, which is make me emotional. And for some reason, like, that can be a bit of a contrived kind of thing. Like, let's just see how sad we can make you. And I typically have an adverse reaction to that sort of thing. Like, This Is Us, the TV show. Like, okay, let's just calm it down with some of these awful things that are happening to these people. It's not actually hard to write. But for whatever reason, and maybe it's the interactivity with a game, particularly like Life is Strange, that I get much more connected to this world and to everything that's going on, even if the if you can call them puzzles, are very, very simple. I'm really there for the performances and the narrative and the journey more than really anything else. There's not a whole heck of a lot of like gameplay to be really talking about, but I find myself really enjoying it. I often find myself in a weird spot with Life is Strange, because when they come out, I don't go like, I can't wait to play this. They don't speak hype to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for Life is Strange to come out. That's not me. But it came out on Game Pass just at the right time where I needed something a little bit shorter, like something I could complete and just kind of chill out to. And it's checking off all the boxes for me right now. And I'm doing it on xCloud, which has been performing pretty well, even in airport Wi-Fi, in hotel Wi-Fi, which has been pretty decent. Which I then tested the new Halo. I don't know if you guys have played the new Halo stuff yet, but I tried I tried a quarter of a match of Last Spartan Standing.
Yeah.
And the xCloud didn't really hold up, at least in this Wi-Fi. Not today, but maybe when I get home.
I have a question. So I'm not a Life is Strange fan. I tried playing the first one, didn't really click with me. Did you like the other entries in the series? Is this like one that like maybe newcomers can go into and enjoy? Or is this like, if you didn't like the other ones, you're probably not going to like this one?
Well, both to the first two questions. I have played the other ones before. I have liked the other ones before, but it's also welcoming to anybody. Like there's really the only connection really is that at least so far I haven't finished it. Maybe there's like this, and it's all part of the same universe. And Max is here from one of the first games. I don't anticipate that happening, but really the only like connective tissue is that you play as a protagonist who has some sort of like almost like supernatural kind of ability that impacts the world and the characters within it. So from that perspective, like anybody can come in and play this. I think it's like, oh, I don't even think like objectively, this is by far the best looking of them all. They kind of started out very, very indie, and this has a bit more polish to it. It's still not full realistic visuals or anything like that. But the performances are really good, and yeah, it's just like I said, it's an emotional journey. You're there for a story. It's a performative visual novel, might be the best way to put it. Like you're not reading anything like you would in like Doki Doki or something like Doki Doki Literature Club, but you're sitting back and kind of taking a lot of it in, to be honest.
That's cool. Ethan, I saw you hold it up. Have you
Yeah.
played that, or do you just own it? Because I know
I 100% of this game. I am a
Yeah.
huge fan of Life is Strange. It is easily one of the most immersive video game series that I have personally ever played, and it's one of those games where you get so attached to these characters and so attached to these emotions that these characters are feeling. Like Sean said, you get emotional playing these games if you really get immersed into it. It's just an incredible experience for anybody out there looking for, I wouldn't call it bite-sized, but just a really low-key, slow experience where you can just enjoy a life story of somebody. It's absolutely incredible. It has its highs, it has its lows. I mean, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's a really good game series. And now it's on cloud and Game Pass. Go for it. Just play it.
The bite size comes in the fact that it's episodic. So you can sit down, if you've got an hour and a half or something like that, like you can get through a good arc of the story. I'm at a part, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but they're doing like a live action role play now. Like it's super fun, super
really fun.
And just like well, LARPing, like I kind of go into that and I look at it, I got my arms crossed, like that is so lame. Like who would actually do that? And then I'm playing it in the game and I'm like, this is super fun. Like
it's really cool.
And I feel like that's like video games in general. Like a lot of people would come just to like, they would refuse to let themselves get into it for whatever reason. They think it's lame or they think it's only for dorks or whatever else. And then you kind of get in, you're like, I'm having fun. And that's so like, yeah, immersive is definitely a way to describe it. The episodic piece is definitely there. And you can always expect something big to happen at each one of the episodes. Like, you're at the end when like, oh snap, or you're not at the end if something big hasn't happened yet. So yeah, it's punchy. I just love the setting. I love all the characters and been having a great time with it so far.
That's awesome. Ethan, if you want to join the Backtrackers, you can pop into the Carpool Gaming Discord.
And, because now I want to see what you feel about the ending and what the other people feel about the ending, because it's a roller coaster, those last few chapters. It's going to be an amazing experience for you guys.
In the first chapter, I'm like, that is not what I expected.
No.
Not even a little bit.
It's going to keep hitting you with curveballs. Trust me. It's so fun.
You ask yourself, why do you sign up for this sort of thing? Like, this thing is going to punch you in the gut. And that's why I don't typically like play day one. I'm not rushing to that type of experience, but I can still see the artistry in it and the beauty in the game like this.
And like these games make you make decisions where you really do have to sit back and go, what the hell would I actually do in this scenario? Like usually games, you kind of know what decision to make, or at least it's just like a play style, like in Mass Effect, for example. Like it's just kind of, the way you're playing. But in Life is Strange, it really makes you question yourself and be like, what would I do in these scenarios? It's such a good experience.
That's awesome.
Burn the town down.
Yeah, burn the town. Everyone, get rid of them.
I'm expecting that to be the final choice.
Oh, that's awesome. Ethan, what are you playing this week?
Well, before I get into what I'm playing, I did remember the third thing is that I have a clean email inbox for the first time in 5 years. Today, I deleted over 12,000 emails. I am so happy right now. So that's another thing that I'm happy about. But for what I'm playing, I am ashamed to say I've been playing a lot of Bug Snacks this week. And Kevin, you got me onto this.
My man.
And I started playing it, and I can't stop. I want 100% this game. I want to catch all the Bug Snacks. It's really giving me those Viva Pinata vibes like we were talking about that I was excited for, because I was a huge fan of Viva Pinata back in the day. On the GameCube, there's a Viva Pinata on the GameCube. It was wonderful. But yeah, it's really fun. there's not much to say that hasn't already been said about Bug Snacks. I know you've talked about it at length already. It's definitely worth a pick up and a try if you're on Game Pass. And for other games, I played a little bit more MLB 22. Just keep mindlessly playing that. That's my kind of zonk out game where, if I want to listen to a podcast, I just sit and hit home runs in the home run derby and have a good time. But really, it's been all Bug Snacks this week because there's not a lot of other games out.
That's true. It's kind of a lull period right now. At least that's how I feel. But I'm glad you're enjoying Bug Snacks. I think the last 2 or 3 weeks, I know when Matt was on, we were going on about it. And last week I was like, everyone's got to play Bug Snacks. So I started playing Bug Snacks again on Xbox because I already got the platinum on PlayStation. And then I've quickly realized like this isn't a game you need to play more than once. It's still good, but I don't need to 100% it on Xbox. I'm going to take my platinum and kindly retire Bug Snacks. I did get like a third of them, but it's just not what I want to be doing right now. I did go back to an old game, and that is Fall Guys. So I've played, I don't know, maybe 10 hours of Fall Guys in the last week. After the show last week, our friends over at Pixel Play podcast, they hit me up. They were all playing. They were like, you want to play some Fall Guys? We see you're on there. So I hop in with them, or I hit them up, whatever happened. But we played for hours and I got a crown. We got another person 2 crowns. It's so much fun with a group of people because you get to like the final and it's like, okay, whoever has the tail gets the crown. And we're like, all right, there's 3 of us out of the 9. We're going to make sure one of us has the tail at the end. And you're just screwing over the random people to get your friends crowns. It's so much fun. I think that game, I'm still waiting for it to come to Xbox, first of all. Like, where it's been like 2 years since they said it was coming, and it ain't here yet.
Fall Guys takes a long time to implement what they say they're gonna do. That's something they're notorious for. But yeah, it is super fun.
I also tried Soul Calibur 6, which is on PlayStation Now, because I'm not buying games, but I was like, I'm gonna play some Soul Calibur 6 because it's free. I liked Soul Calibur back in the day. And I don't know what they've done since the iterations of the old Soul Caliburs, but this game is a hot pile of trash. Like, UI is bad. They have some weird story mode where you make your own character and like go through, and it's nothing about this game was working for me. I played like maybe an hour and a half, 2, and I was like, I'm gonna uninstall this. Like, this is not a good time. And the online, dead. I tried to queue up. Took me probably 10 to 15 minutes to find one match. And I was like, yeah, this isn't what you want for a fighting game. This is not, I'm not feeling this. So
I think that game has suffered the same fate as like Dynasty Warriors, where, back in the day, it was very simple, a good premise, like, a good concept, a fun game. But over time, you're just making too many of them and you're making it more complicated. And now it's just too much for people. So that's sad to hear, because I remember playing Soul Calibur 4 back in the day when they brought in Darth Vader and Yoda, and I absolutely loved that game. So that's sad to hear.
Yeah, no, it was disappointing because I did like the older iterations. I try not to call games trash, but like this one deserves it. Like, I don't know what they were doing for this. Like, this is not a good game. And then the other thing, my last thing I've been playing this week is Halo Infinite Season 2. So I did hop in last night with some friends. We played some King of the Hill, which is fine. It's basically, I forget the name of the other mode where you have to capture the points. But like, it's just that, but they remove 2 of the points and then you go capture the other one and it moves. I'm like, it's really like, how much effort did they really put in making this game mode? Like, nothing really going on here. I don't know when they implemented this, but Tactical Slayer now has battle rifles or manglers, and my lord, is Tactical Slayers with manglers frustrating. It's slow. I don't really like using the mangler, if I'm being honest.
Like, you don't start with an AR anymore?
No, you start with a mangler in Tactical Slayer. Or a battle rifle. That's the like headshot one where you have to get the headshots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a fan. Okay. But the mode I want to talk about is Last Spartan Standing, because I know people have been raving about this. And I don't know if it's just me because I've never really liked free for all, but I do not know what everyone likes about this game mode. You play the same map every single time, and I don't particularly like the map that much. And it's a good premise, I think. You kill someone, you get points, you can upgrade the weapon, but you always start with a disruptor and a pistol. So then when you upgrade, you go to a mangler. And it's because I don't like the mangler. And then I have to try to get kills with the mangler. And then you go to an assault rifle. Then you go to a commando rifle. And I was like, the progression for these weapons don't make sense. Why are you giving me... Who wants a commando rifle? It's a bad gun. Like, and people
Maybe that's the point.
Maybe, but people are getting over, like, you'll run into people with over shields or invisibility, and I'm like, where did you get this? And it's because, like, an ordnance, I think, dropped on the other side of the map that I'm never going to have a chance to get to. So I don't really, it's more frustrating than anything. And then there's a glitch where it's like, oh, you can leave and keep all your challenge progress, and then you do, and you don't keep your progress. And it's like, this is just frustrating. Like, I'm wasting my time. This is poorly implemented. I think there was promise if they let you choose what gun you upgraded to, but the fact that they automatically tell you, like, hey, you got to use this next.
That's kind of like gun game, though, in Call of Duty, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very much like it, which is why, like, everyone's saying it's like a battle royale light. It's really not. It's kind of like a survival gun game mode.
Yeah. Because you have, what do you have, like 5 lives or something like that?
Yeah, you got 5 lives.
So you can die 5 times. It's sort of a mix between the two, which I'm excited to dive into. But yeah, I can see where it's like, who's liking these weapons? You know, who's actually enjoying that. But I think that's also, I don't know, like, I had a not great connection playing earlier today and was like, okay, do I like, I have a not good connection and I've got this gun. This is not going to go well for me. That's why I bounced so quickly. But I don't know. Like, I think the pistol's pretty. I don't like the disruptor. Like,
no, I like the pistol.
Pistol's
I wish
decent.
I could keep the pistol the whole time.
Yeah, you don't even want to get that kill.
Yeah, I don't want the mangler. Just let me keep the pistol. No, you know what I do think this mode would be good for is private matches. If you're just messing around with your friends, I think this would be a really fun mode for that.
Well, I wonder about that too, though, and it's something similar. We talked about it with Nintendo Switch Sports with the Battle Royale that doesn't. You can't do that with friends for bowling, and it's like, it sounds like it's a mode that we all enjoy playing, but there's the reality of how those things like roll out, which is once you're out and you're waiting and watching. So if you're only doing that with randoms, then you're out and then you bounce to the next game and you join in with a bunch of new people. But if you do it with friends, like, and if you're not very good, you play with like a Joseph Moran, Mr. Babbitt from the trophy room, who happens to be very good at Halo. He's just going to crush you all day long, and then you're just sitting waiting for a match to be over. So that could be part of maybe why I wouldn't necessarily want to do it with friends, but maybe might not be as obvious as we think that to be a good option on that.
Yeah, listen, if Joe doesn't show up, okay.
True enough.
Halo Saturdays could be back on the menu with this mode. I think it could be a good time because it's like it could be a fun
Tim
mode
Ulf
if
from
you're all in
Nintendo
a chat.
says Sean with the name drops. Well, I know Tim Ulf too. He's a good man. Great beard.
I know Joe too. He's been on the show twice.
And Tim Ulf, Neo Prime in the chat too.
Neo Prime. I don't know you.
Tim Ulf, I'm telling you. Yeah, good man.
Anyway, let's see what the chat's saying. It's Kyle says 343's completely dropped the ball. They did the minimal amount of work possible and are passing it off as season 2. King of the Hill, congrats, you deleted 2 zones from Stronghold. That's what I was talking about. Strongholds. Yeah.
It really is sad to see the state of Halo, because I don't think this is going to be the shot in the arm that we all needed for this game. I think people might pick it up for 2 weeks and then drop it again, just like they did back in February. So they need to give us maps. They need to give us something other than just some little game modes and more cosmetics. Because I think Kyle said again that the battle pass was still broken and had bad rewards in the chat. That's very true. It's just it's boring. And we don't want it anymore. We just want some new game modes that are actually, creative, and we want some new maps. That's all we're asking for.
You know what's frustrating is they said land grab was also going to be added, and I don't see it in there. Like, maybe it's hidden in a playlist somewhere, but I've yet to play land grab, and it doesn't look like it's a one that you can select. But also, what is the difference between land grab and strongholds and King of the Hill? It just look like, is it just another mode where I have to go capture a point? That's what it sounds like.
Well, and that's my primary issue, which is with we need more game modes, because then you get like, it's very quick. You get to a point where you're like, well, now it's just they're so similar. Like, do you really need all these different game modes? Like, you have to be choosy about what playlists you want, which maybe we'll get to that point where we create our own playlists and things like that. But I don't know. I'm not looking for there to be 40 playlists or 40 different game modes, which is why I'm not chomping at the bit for Forge, where I don't need options. I just need good stuff. I just need quality. I don't need necessarily quantity. I don't think that's a rare thing to say. But sometimes when we talk about what Halo needs, oftentimes we'll just list a grocery list of we need stuff, and it's well, yes, but let's refine it a little bit. Let's make that actually something that we want to play. The other thing that I would say on that too, though, is I'm maybe a different animal on this front, because there's almost nothing that they could do to keep me involved for 6 months at a time. That's just not the gamer that I am, right? So I'm not as displeased with an implementation that will keep me around for 2 weeks and then I'll bounce off and do something else. I'm probably gonna do that anyways. So, but there are more hardcore people than I am, and that's always the balance of these types of games. You gotta placate to sort of the more casual audience, but then also the people who you want to try to keep around to evangelize and play the game for forever and ever. And I think Destiny is a good example of where that happens to be working right now. And it just happens to be occurring right when Halo, oddly enough, of all games, is not doing so hot.
Yeah, I think the noticeable thing for me is the one map they've added to Big Team Battle, and then the one map to Arena. And it's I had to play multiple games last night before I even got to see the new map, and then I didn't see it again for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
So it's I like there's a new map, but I don't really notice it because I'm still playing the same maps I was 6 months ago, majority of the time. So I'm like you, Sean, what you're saying. I'm never going to play this for 6 months straight. That's just, I don't do that with games. I don't like live service models. I just want Halo to be when I'm bored and want to have fun with friends, be able to go in and have a good experience and see oh, they changed that. We have new stuff. These are new maps I've never played on before. And right now we're not getting that.
Yeah.
So that's a bummer, but everyone, try it out for yourselves. It's like I said, there's promise there, but I think season 3 is where we're finally going to start seeing significant changes. If we're and I think I said that about season 2.
Exactly.
I think I said that. Yeah. Season 6. All right. I promise.
Another one.
It's when it gets good. All right. You just got to do the first 14 seasons.
Just give me Griffball, just please.
All right, guys. Well, now that we got Whatcha Playing out of the way, let's grab some books from the library where I tell you this week's stories. Story number 1. Embracer Group has acquired multiple studios from Square Enix. This was announced on Monday. The Embracer Group has entered into an agreement to acquire the development studios Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and a catalog of IPs including Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and more than 50 back catalog IPs from Square Enix. The total purchase price amounts to $300 million on a cash and debt-free basis to be paid in full at closing. I'm going to stop right there. There's more to the story. But Sean, what was your initial reaction when you saw this? Because I woke up and I was like, what the...
If I'm thinking about it through an Xbox perspective, my first reaction was something slipped through the cracks or slipped through Phil's fingers. I feel like there was so much talk about this relationship that had been going on and how Crystal has been working with the initiative. And obviously this was going to be something that has happened. But I wonder how the Activision acquisition or merger, whatever you want to call it, might have precluded that from even happening. There's lots here, man. There's lots to go at it from. Did Xbox miss out on an opportunity? What is it now? What does it mean that Embracer has, I don't even know how many different developers. So the whole notion of, is Xbox create a monopoly? And do we even know what that word even means anymore? It just drives me crazy. I keep hearing people say the word monopoly. It's dude, we are so far from it, So I just wanted to throw that out there. The number seems low to me, 300 million, but I've also read some things about Embracer Group also capturing some of the debt or something else that was coming along with this. Not quite as cut and dry as that. But but I think there could be positives to this as well. That seems like there's a lot of IP that are involved, and maybe just distributed across a new set of developers is actually one of the things I've been talking about with the Xbox first party studios. As they buy Bethesda and they buy Activision, they've got all these IP kind of like laying dormant. Can they redistribute their activations from their developers to start to revive some of these older IP? Because it wasn't happening before, when Activision has their slew of development teams. Maybe with more at the stable, they could do something else with. Maybe they could throw, I don't know, like a Conquer to like Double Fine, or could they do like, they can like mix and match here. So I'm curious how that's going to work out for Embracer Group, to see if they just lay hands off and they just kind of let everybody do what they've been doing. But yeah, there's a lot to this story, man. There's stories about, I think, 88 million copies of the Tomb Raider series have been sold, and which is monstrous. Like, this is, I don't know if you guys had any idea that we were getting anywhere close to that range, because every time one of the games releases, it was a failure.
Disappointment
right?
in sales.
Yeah, so I think I'll lean on that side too, just to say that maybe there's a recalibration on that front that's possible, when these teams who are, I would say, really talented, like they've given us some of the greats in the last 10 years or so. Maybe there's just another way to activate these devs and to market them and allocate resources, so that when they do publish a game that or a series that does 88 million, that's more of like a amazing success and a hallmark to driving even more success for these developers. I think that's hopefully what we'll see out of Embracer Group. But yeah, my very first thought, if I'm being honest, was, ooh, that would have been awesome for Xbox to snag.
Yeah, Ethan, I'll throw it to you in a second, but like I said, my initial reaction was very shocked. I woke up at 5 a.m. and saw this text from my brother from the night before, and I was like, this is not an acquisition I saw coming. I think plenty of people were predicting Xbox is going to pick up Crystal Dynamics at some point in the future. They're working with Perfect Dark. So I think a lot of people had your reaction, Sean, was like, well, how did this get past Xbox?
Yeah.
And I think it has to be the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Their hands have to be tied. I don't think they want to poke the FTC down here in the United States, who's scrutinizing this deal.
They really are. From every angle. It's not even just FTC from a competition standpoint. Like, apparently now there's like a lawsuit happening with Bobby Kotick that he wasn't actually fit to accept to do the deal with Activision and Microsoft. So those types of things are going to happen with a $68 billion deal. It's just on a totally different scale. It's going to attract a different attention. I just find it super interesting that I really encourage people to do the math on this. The difference between 68 billion with a B to 38 million for all of this. I really, I feel like they could have done this on the weekend, in terms of the Microsoft scale and everything. They could have just like picked it up and carried on their way. But yeah, I'm very curious how it's going to impact the initiative and how Crystal is going to continue to work. Apparently that's still going to happen, but it's just all interesting, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think 300 million is super low for the talent that they're getting. Crystal
and
Dynamics,
the IP, Tomb Raider is one of the most important.
It is egregiously undervalued.
Right?
Which I think that's not going to be good for Square Enix, because, I know in the story they're talking about how they want to reinvest that money into fields including the blockchain, AI, and the cloud, like we have in our doc here. And that scares the hell out of me. We've seen the CEO of Square Enix come out and say he thinks blockchain is the future. Yesterday, the Wall Street Journal, an incredible piece came out about NFTs in the entire market right now. Since September, the transactions of NFTs have declined 92%, and active wallets since November are down 88% in the NFT market. With the economy the way it is right now, with inflation, people are going to safer stocks right now, like the big corporations like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, General Electric, stuff like that. They don't want to be in this volatile market anymore. And right now, for the foreseeable future, the economy is not going to come roaring back anytime soon. So this market is not the future right now. And Square Enix is doubling down on this. And clearly the video game community does not want anything to do with this market. We've seen the backlash against Ubisoft, the Stalker 2 developers, everybody trying to roll back these NFT announcements. And Square Enix is just going to double down on it. And all they've done is get rid of some incredible IPs for what I think is an egregious undervaluation.
it's the same company that has 88 million copies of a game sold. That's not a success.
Yeah.
That sells these important IP for undervalue. That is doubling down on NFTs. It's just like, should we be worried about the other side of Square Enix as well? Like,
I
is
don't
it
know what
just,
they're doing.
you know what I mean? Like, where are their priorities? I don't even know if I
Right.
have to ask that question. I think they've made that abundantly clear. So maybe if you're just looking at these studios and their IP, it's probably a good thing. Like maybe that's another kind of like nice tidy way to wrap
Right.
this up is like, thank God they abandoned ship. They got like maybe Embracer Group will actually feed some life into these and proper direction and stewardship of these important IP. You know, we've got Deus Ex in there, really, really great game that I don't think we were going to be getting anything new from Eidos Montreal either. Yeah.
I think there is kind of a good thing in this story in the fact that I fully believe Square Enix is going to fall on its face with this decision. And I'm hoping that inspires them to get back to their roots, and that's creating incredible JRPGs. We saw Scarlet Nexus last year, which was one of my favorite JRPGs that I've ever... Is it from Bandai?
Yeah. Bandai.
What's the Square Enix
Bandai.
JRPG that came out last year that was really good?
I don't know. Tales was also Bandai.
Tales was Bandai. Yeah,
I can't think of it right now. I know there's a JRPG I played that was really good.
The
But
only
either
thing
way, you got
Square's done is Triangle Strategy.
Triangle Strategy. You got
It's dope.
Kingdom Hearts is a Square Enix property. Stuff like, come on, it's going to be great.
But I would like. I think what they're doing on the Japanese side, like I think demonstrates that it's going okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, it's interesting just to see a total split on that, which makes sense that they would offset this or offload it.
Pyro in the chat says Square Enix are becoming 2015 to 2019 Activision.
Yeah.
Changed my mind.
They're just constantly making wrong decisions. They're just consistently tripping over themselves, you know, and they have bad public image right now because of all the things they've said. Obviously, they had that major failure with Marvel Avengers, and it's just been going downhill since then. Look at Babylon's Fall. This is a live service game that is published by a AAA studio from a developer with a good pedigree behind it. And right now, concurrent players, 31 players in the game. This was released 2 months ago. There are 31 people playing that video game right now. I mean, what are we doing over there? What are we doing over there?
I think Square is clearly, they haven't believed in the Western side of their company for a while, right? And those, when Square and Enix merged together, those were the Western studios that Square got, right?
That's the ones that's making them the most money. So
is it though? Like,
not net,
because the Final Fantasy VII remake is from the Japanese, like Octopath Traveler, like those are the when I think of big Square Enix games, I think of the Japanese side. Like, I don't really think of, I know everyone likes Guardians and I think it's a good game, but like, I'm not over here being like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, that's Square Enix's big blockbuster title, right? Like, that's not what I
also think about Life is Strange. You know, like Sean was saying, was Tomb Raider. I mean, all these games that we think of Western IPs, they are published by Square Enix that are absolutely incredible. So, you know, for me personally, I just don't play enough JRPGs, I guess, to have that attachment. But
Console Kato in the chat says boo Triangle Strategy.
Don't get Kevin started
Kato,
on this. Kato,
why? It's so good. I loved that game so much. But we're not gonna talk about the Nintendo. No, I feel like Square wasn't valuing what they had, and maybe Embracer will. Maybe this is the backing, because Embracer's got tons of money. Like, they're loaded. Clearly, they have, I think, 80 plus developers now and 120 studios.
Yeah, they are silently taking over the video game industry right now.
Yeah, isn't that something that we should be raising flags about? Like, I don't really subscribe to that train of thought, just to make that clear. But it, like, if you're gonna argue for one side, then this should probably raise some flags for anybody who's fighting that fight. But I don't know, but it does guarantee, I think at least, that on principle and on paper, those games will remain third party. Like, unless some sort of weird third party exclusivity deals are done, it does mean that we don't have to have the arguments online of Tomb Raider's now an Xbox or a PlayStation exclusive because they're owned by those companies. That I guess that might be a positive. And I also wonder if, like, at what point does Microsoft have too many studios? Like, would that have been too many for them to bring on board? And ultimately, like, what is the goal for Microsoft and Xbox in all of these acquisitions? It's really for content on the subscription service of Game Pass. And we've like hyper focused on acquisitions as the solution to that, but it's not the only pathway to that. There's all these sorts of deals that can happen. And when we look at what PlayStation is doing with their new PS Plus subscription, I'd be very curious to see what happens, like where you have to pay at the premium level to get game trials on PlayStation, but then Xbox just comes along and says, well, or you can play like day one on Game Pass. Like there's still a lot of opportunity, competitively speaking, for Xbox to play a lot of different cards that they can play on this side too.
For sure. I think one thing I've been saying is after the Activision deal, I don't really want Xbox to acquire more publishers. I know everyone keeps like, oh, get Ubisoft next or get EA next. Or I would rather see them focus on what they have, make new IPs. We did not see new IPs getting made last generation, right? Like over on the PlayStation side, we saw Horizon get made. Like that was a brand new IP. We saw Days Gone, even though it didn't work out. At least they tried something. I want to see that innovation from the Xbox studios, who they'll have like 34 studios under their belt once that acquisition closes. So
it's really time to see the fruit of that labor. The last 2 years we've been talking nothing but acquisitions. It's time to start seeing those games roll out and see what Microsoft can actually do with these studios before I'll go and shout from the rooftops that they should buy another major developer.
But Xbox fans, like Xbox players, need to embrace those new IP though. Like Sony and Nintendo, they do, like the players on those systems, they eat it up. Like a new game coming out, like Splatoon, like they buy it like day one. That thing crushed it right from day one. And Horizon Zero Dawn was like one of the top selling games of last generation, 20 some odd million copies, like just monstrous. And I don't think that the Xbox One was devoid of new IP and new ideas. It wasn't always necessarily first party stuff, but there was a lot of exclusives like Quantum Break or
Sunset Overdrive,
of course, right out of the gates, and Rise, Son of Rome, like right
I
at the
love
start,
Rise.
right? And you can go through the list of games that were exclusive to the platform, but Ori and the Blind Forest, there was new ideas, new IP that launched onto Xbox One, and still people just kind of crossed their arms and were like, But I often argue that many of those games, if they had launched on other systems, they would have found much greater success. And that was basically the story of the Xbox One, just in general, that it was in third for a variety of reasons. But we often hear this, we need new ideas, we need new stuff. And it's like, okay, well then we need to support it as well as Xbox fans. Otherwise they'll just go back to the well of what is more certain to deliver results and get people signed up for Game Pass. Because we're in store for probably a Marcus Phoenix collection pretty soon. Like, brace yourself for that, guys. And even on PlayStation, we're probably gonna get a Last of Us.
That's a fantastic point. And I wonder if, say, Sunset Overdrive
Recore,
came out.
Pyro in the chat. Good call on Recore. Totally.
My brother liked that game. He said he thought that was a good game. So like, I liked Rise, Son of Rome, and we're probably not getting a sequel to that. So it's disappointing. But my point, I was gonna say, I wonder what happens if, say, Insomniac had put out Sunset Overdrive on PlayStation. Do we think there'd be a Sunset Overdrive 2 by now? Like, would they have welcomed it more than the Xbox?
They're asking for it right now because that IP and the developer owned by Sony. They would be laughing if they got a Sunset Overdrive 2 and it's available only on PlayStation. They would love that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Guys, one more point I want to touch on this story, and actually Tim Ulf in the chat brings it up. I think Square Enix is unloading these other studios so it can be sold to someone else like Sony or another big
lowering
publisher.
The price tag or something like that to try and make it more favorable. You never know.
Do we think this now lines up? I know they said it was for the NFTs and the blockchain, but do we think that the Japanese side of Square Enix is now primed for perhaps Sony to come in and acquire them?
Does Sony have the capital to make that kind of a deal? Because I remember I think a story came out that they only have like 30-something billion earmarked for acquisitions in their budget. Most of their money goes to video game development. They spend a lot of money on their games.
You think that's not enough for the Japanese side of Square Enix? That sounds like more than enough to me.
Square Enix is huge. I mean, it's not just video games either. Let's be real here. Square Enix also deals with anime and manga. I don't know if they want to split up like that.
That's what I was surprised. That's one of the big things I was surprised at this is that I didn't realize how realistic an option this was. That they would just go Western side, you're a package, like it's option C on the menu. It was like, okay, you get these with these ingredients, these side items with it. I didn't realize that was a thing. So why wouldn't the Japanese part of the business also be the next option or part of the plan? I think it's actually a good point. and thinking about even the way that Konami has been operating as well, where they basically just like stepped aside from video games altogether. That might be something we see from here, but perhaps a bit more of a proactive approach to make sure that these developers and IP have a home to go to, instead of just like, we're not going to do anything with Castlevania or whatever else, you know?
Right.
So, Ethan, I was doing some math here. So, when you translate their market cap, it's about $5.8 billion.
For all of Square Enix?
Yeah, that's what it said.
Yeah.
According, if
Wow.
you translate their yen. So, this just goes to show me
That's
every time I look
wow.
up a market cap on here. Like, I think we were doing it with Ubisoft and EA a few weeks ago, Ethan. But
Yeah.
the crazy amount that Activision's going for. Like, in my mind, Activision really isn't any bigger than Square Enix and Ubisoft.
I mean, come on, man.
But they are apparently, like,
well, no kidding. Call of Duty is on sale for like 17
Blizzard
hours.
alone is probably
because
bigger than Square Enix.
I don't play Call of, like, when I think of Activision, I'm like, oh, they got Crash Bandicoot. I love Crash Bandicoot.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
I'm cool with that, but like I'm just not part of, like, that's not a company for me anymore, really.
I mean,
like,
that company also has a mobile gaming arm, which makes them a lot of money.
That's a
So
good
you got to
point,
think
yeah,
Square
King.
Enix doesn't have that.
Yeah. Well, they do have.
Well, they might have something, but it's not anywhere close to the level of King.
Yeah. I don't think Sony needs to acquire them. They already get all their games basically third-party exclusive anyway.
They always have good relationships with the Japanese publishers and studios. I don't know if there's any business sense to purchase outright a Japanese publisher or studio, because, like I said, every game that's being published by those studios they're going to PlayStation anyways.
Our chat right now is just coming up with the plot to Sunset Overdrive 2. So
we're making things happen here and now.
If anyone's curious, you can check the log for that. But yeah, they're going off here. Where did my story go? Hold on one second, guys. I closed the Google Doc. I don't know what our next story is.
What are we gonna do with you, Kevin?
I'm a professional. I do this every week. All right. Story number 2 is Game Pass update. So available right now, Shadow dropped was NBA 2K22 for cloud, console, and PC. You also have a Loot River for cloud, console, and PC, which people are saying they're liking. I saw Mr. Badbit, not to name drop again, but he was checking it out on his Steam Deck. May 5th, tomorrow, or today, depending on when you're listening to this, Trek to Yomi for cloud, console, and PC.
Yes.
Citizen Sleeper for cloud, console, and PC. May 10th, we get Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair Anniversary Edition for cloud, console, PC. Eiyuden Chronicle Rising for cloud, console, PC. This War of Mine Final Cut for cloud, console, PC. And then May 12th, we get NHL 22 for console. Sean, any of those piquing your interest, buddy?
Trek to Yomi is the one, man. And you know when it caught my attention was actually on a PlayStation stage, or digital stage, so to speak. I was delighted to learn that this game was coming out day and date on Game Pass, especially because I was like, oh, I can't believe this game's going to be PlayStation exclusive. And somebody's like, it's not. That's the power of that marketing. When I see a game on some other display or some other presentation, I just automatically assume there's some sort of exclusivity to it. This game looks just, I love the art style to it, and just the kind of old school, it seems, just combat, you just side scroll and just slicing and dicing. That's really my pick. It's totally different from anything I've been playing over the last, I don't know how long. Everything's an open world and everything's an RPG elements and everything else. And this just seems kind of a back to basics, but also very stylistic little indie game that I'm excited to jump into.
I think that's going to be the pick for most people. That's one I'm looking forward to. And I wouldn't normally go for a game like this, but it looks so stylish that I'm like, I have to try it. Like, it's no cost to me. I'm going to pick it up. My hope is that combat feels good. That, I think, is what will determine if I stick with it. But I also want to shout out Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, that coming next week. Another action JRPG. Yeah. Listen, Ryan Turford would support me in this.
I know he would.
even though he told me earlier he doesn't like Banjo-Kazooie, so he's kind of my he broke my heart.
You never know what that guy's gonna say next.
He hurt me, Sean. He hurt me when I was listening to the Xbox Drive. But And then Danganronpa 2, which I tried the first one and I liked it. Not enough to like finish it, but I'm glad to see it coming over to Xbox finally. Ethan, what's sticking out here for you?
Yeah, you know how I am, Kevin. I'm gonna try every game that comes to Game Pass at least once, just
crazy
once.
Talk.
Except maybe the NBA and the NHL games because I don't really play sports games unless it's a baseball game. But Trek to Yomi has definitely been on my radar for quite some time. Really excited. I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head about the style of it, about the art style, about the direction of it. I mean, it looks absolutely beautiful and stunning. So I'm really excited for that. And then Loot River, I have downloaded right now. Ready to rock and roll. I've just been playing a lot of Bug Snacks, so I think I'm gonna pick it up tonight and give it a shot. I haven't seen anything about Loot River. I haven't watched gameplay. I haven't watched any trailers. But so I'm gonna jump into that tonight and see how it is. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think we haven't really gotten like the well, I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say we haven't really gotten the big AAA games, but we have where they're not surprises. We know about them ahead of time. So I think people are really like underestimating Game Pass. Like last month, MLB The Show, people were like, oh, we haven't gotten a big game in a while, but that's a huge game. So I'm completely fine with this month being like indies. Like, give me all the indies because there's some good picks here.
I mean, we're in a slow season right now for gaming, so it's definitely indie season and it's backlog season. So Game Pass is the great thing for both of those.
I think this is the last month we can say that, though. I think next month we got some big titles.
So get your backlog in now, folks. Start playing quick.
Yeah, I got Super Mario Strikers coming out next month. So
man,
yes,
yeah, that's right, that's right. Oh man, okay. Last story of the day. And this comes according to Game Bytes Imran Khan. WB Discovery is shopping their game development studios. According to rumors he has heard, apparently Sony, Microsoft, EA, Take-Two, Tencent, NetEase, and PUBG are among those interested. WB Game Studios include Avalanche Software, who are making Hogwarts Legacy, Monolith, NetherRealm, who's known for Mortal Kombat and Injustice, Portkey, Rocksteady, TT Games, they make the Lego games, WB Montreal, and a few other mobile teams. So this has been, I feel like this has been a rumor for a while, right? Like, I feel like we've been hearing about them wanting to sell these studios for a year now, at least. And at this point, I'm just like, if you don't want them anymore, like, just do what Square Enix did. Like, I'm sure you can find a party that would be willing to take what studio they want out of your bunch. Like, if you just want Avalanche, just sell Avalanche. Like, I don't know if they're trying to package them together and be like, take them all because we want like a bigger deal. But at this point, I'm just so sick of hearing this rumor. I don't know about you guys.
I don't know. There seems to be a lot of
it's news. It's news. We gotta bring it up.
But you know, there is a lot of courtship that has to go on with these acquisitions, and I'm sure there's a big bidding process right now. Like you just named all the big guys that are buying studios right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of money being thrown at these guys. Maybe not compared to the Activision deal, but there's a lot of money being thrown at these guys, and they got to work through this bidding process, and they got to have that courtship with all the different companies. So it'll be interesting to see if they want to do a full package deal or if they're just going to split up all these studios. I would love to see TT Games go to Xbox. I am a huge fan of the Lego games, so that would be pretty fun.
Neo Prime in the chat says Nintendo will buy Lego Studio.
I mean, that would make sense.
Be a good fit.
I mean, it's a good studio for Nintendo, but you know, I'll hold out hope.
Sean, what are you thinking? WB selling their gaming division.
Yeah, I think kind of like you, like can I like S word or get off the pot? You know what I mean? Like just get it done already. There's lots of different ways that people can kind of look at this. One of the arguments is, do these developers come along with their IP that they're so inherently attached with? I think the newest rumor or news item was that maybe it might, or maybe there's a version of the offer where there's some sort of like agreement that at least the next game or next series of games will continue on and come with it. So that certainly sweetens the deal a little bit, where you know you're getting another Batman game or Gotham or whatever those guys are doing, another Lego game or whatever those guys are doing. So there's that part. But if you also feel like, to you guys' point earlier, do we just want more of the same, or do we want something new? I'm not sure that Hogwarts like totally captures the new thing, because it's obviously Harry Potter's been around forever, but we've never really seen a game quite like this before. I would like to see more of that from this group, whoever owns them, whether they stay put or whether they get bought by Xbox or PlayStation or whoever, is like, there's no denying that these are some of the best game makers on the planet. So what other IP can you attach them to, or do they create something new? To my point earlier, is there stuff that's dormant in Rare's catalog or Xbox's catalog or anybody else that they've been buying? Like, is there something that you could deploy that those resources towards, so that you can start to like activate some ROI on these IP that are otherwise just like, maybe people will buy them on back compat? You know, like, it feel like this whole, even the Perfect Dark is a perfect example of this, where they had to like start a whole new studio, and look how hard that is. And they've got to get Crystal Dynamics to try to do something with this IP that otherwise they don't have the resources to do anything with. So I think there's lots of examples like that. Even like Guitar Hero. What would they do with Guitar Hero? If not suggesting that any one of these developers are, but they've got lots of stuff that they could do things with. And I just think that from a baseline resources standpoint, it's not a bad thing. But yeah, it's a complicated issue, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no. So immediately my mind, when you say, does Xbox have any IP that these studios could work with? Killer Instinct and NetherRealm immediately was what my mind goes to. Xbox.
See, I know a lot of people
needs
say
a
that, but I don't
fighting
want
game,
to.
right?
I don't want a heavy. I'd like to see if NetherRealm can do like a more floaty and free flowing style of fighting game. You know what I mean? Like they basically applied the Mortal Kombat formula to Injustice. And
Injustice, yeah.
Right, everything's heavy feeling, but like Killer Instinct's more like ultra combo. Like, it's way faster, I feel, and for me, a little easier to get into. So you're right that like they've got the fighting pedigree, but I wonder, like, can they give us something else? And yeah, that's kind of my take on NetherRealm.
Listen, if I just want a banjo game, that's what I've been begging for 3 years, and I'm going to keep predicting it for our Xbox. Spoiler, it's going to be my prediction this year that banjo's coming back. But I just want studios to try something new, like you're saying. Like, when I look at these studios, I'm like, that's the Batman studio, that's the Lego studio, that's the other Batman studio. Like, I don't know what these studios actually do besides licensed WB games. And maybe that's because they've never been given the chance to do something else. And if WB is over here like, we don't want you anymore, I'm sure someone out there will give them the opportunity. It's just a matter of who and when, in my opinion. So what's the chat saying?
Isn't it crazy though that we've had enough of licensed games? It sounds like you look back like 10, 15 years ago, if you were to tell somebody that we're going to be overloaded with licensed games, like, and they were good, you know, like, I don't think anybody's really arguing that these games aren't any good. It's just like, okay, we get it, another Batman game. Like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? We'd be killing for a good Batman game 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy that all of a sudden we have this recent phenomena of licensed games actually being good video games. Like, it used to be back in the day. I remember if a game was attached to a movie or, you know, based off of a movie, you just ignored it because you knew it was going to be hot garbage, you know. And now that we're in a world where we're making an incredible licensed video games, we're like, oh god, another superhero game, oh god, whatever. Like, it's like, who knows? It's sad.
That fatigue is certainly set in for me because, like, back in the day, I was like, a Shrek game for the GameCube. Like, I'm gonna pick
that up. The Shrek games were awesome. They were awesome. They were great. You eat the onions and you burp. It's so fun.
But I was buying all those Spider-Man games, all the X-Men games.
Spider-Man on GameCube. Oh yeah.
There was never a moment where I was like, I want like an original IP, like a licensed game.
Who made the Deadpool game on 360?
Was that was that High Moon? High Moon? That's what I'm guessing. I think it's High Moon because it was one of our Jeopardy questions and Amon got it wrong. I remember.
Dude, that's very impressive. Yeah, High Moon Studios, Mercenary Technology.
I would have never have gotten that.
Published by Activision.
Yes. Wow. Yes, and I remember because I put that question in there for Amon because he was like, I love Deadpool. And then I was like, you don't even know who made Deadpool. What are you talking about?
Metacritic is 63. I think that's a little harsh. I think that game's a little better than a 63.
Oh, you like the Deadpool game, Sean? Oh, okay.
Well, and part of it is just the performances. I think it was Nolan North was the voice, I think, right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was pretty good.
No, so someone give him a chance. I'm sure it'll happen. I want something concrete. Like, at this point, we just need WB and Discovery to be like, we are selling. Like, just announce it. Because every year we're getting like, they want to sell it. They want to sell it.
Well, and if the previous story we just talked about is any sort of indication, like maybe you kind of want you start to realize the other players involved here, that it's not just an
Right.
Xbox versus PlayStation thing, that there is the Tencent over here, there's the Bracer over here, there's all these other groups who could, like, if somebody's willing to sell, it could go to, man, who knows, Vivendi could come back and try to forget Ubisoft, like, we're going after WB teams over here, like that's a thing that could happen too. So it's just a reminder that it's not a monopoly thing. There's a lot of deep pockets out there that are, it's more than just these two players.
And
like
there's
vultures.
and there's new publishers
Apparently.
there's new publishers growing all the time. Like we have Focus Home, who I love. I think Focus Home Interactive is a great publisher. They're doing like the Plague Tale and a bunch of other games that are
indie publishers are getting
double
huge.
A. Those
Devolver.
Devolver. Yep, amazing.
Annapurna, Thunderful Games. I mean, it's getting crazy.
Yeah, so these are up and coming publishers who eventually are going to be looking at like, what can we acquire? Like,
how many studios does THQ Nordic have?
Well, that's Embracer Group. So
what?
Yeah,
THQ Nordic is part of Embracer. Oh my gosh!
So Embracer Group's original name was THQ Nordic, and then they rebranded, and they just have a studio named THQ now.
Okay, well that explains that huge list I was looking at before. Okay.
Yeah, they're
good.
So, 80, 120 teams, no big deal.
Isn't Private Division also owned by Embracer Group?
I thought Private Division was owned by Take-Two, but I might be wrong.
Oh, it is Take-Two. Okay, you're right.
Man, I'm encyclepedia right now.
Still, giant publishers
got your
are
own
out there.
Damn Ryan Turford on this show. Holy crap!
No, but it'll happen. We'll see where they go. It's acquisition season apparently, guys. We've been hearing about it. That's all we got, unless anybody else has something else to add. If not, Sean, I want to thank you for coming on the show. As always, man, I love sitting down, talking with you. We're going to do it again real soon. I have on my calendar here.
Yes.
So excited for that. But Sean, can you let people who might not know who you are, tell them about Carpool Gaming and all the amazing stuff you guys are doing?
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, thanks for having me on. This is super fun. I feel like we've been trying to get this done for a little while now. So even if it was coming live from a hotel room, we were going to make it happen. Glad to be here, and I can't wait to come back if you'll have me. Carpool Gaming is a whole bunch of podcasts. We're pretty much releasing something almost every single day, covering all of the different platforms. I'm on, as you mentioned, the Xbox Drive and the Nintendo Drive, a 40 to 50 minute podcast that you can listen to on your commute if you like, or on your lunch break, whatever you want. And very similar to this, we kind of talk about what we're playing and what the news pieces are. We have a lot of awesome engagement from our community as well, taking questions in our in the carpool as people jump in. And then really the one that's quite different from everything else I do is We the Gamercast, where I sit down and have sweet hangs with a stranger from the internet. And games are part of the conversation, but a lot of it is just like life and navigating through this whole thing and discovering who else is out there. It's one of the things that I've been really fortunate to experience in this podcasting journey is, we can talk about what box is better and what games are better and all these other things, but discovering who is on the other side of the controller, on the other end of the world. Like, I have met some of the world's greatest people just because I chatted with them for an hour or 2 hours on We the Gamercast, and I've developed a lot of wonderful friendships through that. So all these podcasts, they release weekly. Most of the shows, if not all the shows, I think are video now at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. We're about to celebrate 1,000 subs at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, which is just massive. We're going to have some giveaways. We're giving away a year of Game Pass to anybody who is to one person out of the 1,000 who subscribe to us over there. So you've got a couple more days before we give away a year of Game Pass, a bunch of games happening, some cool announcements happening on Saturday, May 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if there's a place and time for you to be somewhere, Saturday, 10 p.m., 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
I don't even know where I am right now. I'm in Pacific time. I'm talking about Eastern time. I live in Mountain time. Goodness gracious, you guys. But thanks for having me on, man. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You, as you know, you are welcome here anytime. And we will definitely see you next week. come on by. But no, seriously, Sean, I always appreciate sitting down, talking with you offline, online, on a podcast, whenever. It's great. Man. I'm glad we've connected like we have, and you are always welcome here. But can they follow you on social media anywhere, Sean?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and on Twitch at Sean Capri. Of course, it's Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants.
There we go. Make sure to go check out Carpool Gaming. And Sean, Ethan, where can they find you, friend?
They can find me at WhiteCedar1 on Twitter and Gravy3448 on Xbox.
And you can find me at the Muffin Mon. It's a 1 instead of an I and an O instead of an A. Follow us at Project XTalk to stay up to date with all of our latest. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. Lots of new names in the chat today. That's awesome to see. We really appreciate it. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff they tell you to do. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and we need your help. So any assistance is appreciated. But until next time, guys, we will see you. Goodbye.